Welcome back, everyone, to another week of BIM. So this week we're going to be looking at a few different softwares, one called Touchplan, and then the second video will be in P6, which is Primavera. So just to introduce myself, my name is Andrew Klein. I'm a lecturer within the CM department. I'm running one of the sections right now, but yeah, typically I kind of have one or two BIM sections. So as you can see too, I also teach an advanced scheduling. So if this is something you enjoy, please let me know. I have an elective class going on right now. It's also being taught in the summer. And then I also teach job site management in our fundamentals class in CM. Okay, so you should have all received an invite to Touchplan. I'm just going to show you what this prompt's going to look like. I printed this out just to make it a little bit easier for myself. So the schedule we're going to be working in today is just a very basic stick frame. I'm calling it a tiny home. But really the whole idea is just to kind of get introduced to these scheduling softwares. Not necessarily diving into a very complex schedule yet, but really just we want you to be familiar with how to, one, create a schedule and really start understanding the different relationships and how to tie activities to each other. Okay, so as you can see right here, I'm giving you all the activities, and you'll see why I split these up by different trades pretty soon. This is how we build it in Touchplan. And then I also give you the durations. So in any schedule, you really have two different elements of an activity. One, its name, and the other one is the duration. So this will really start making sense once we get into Touchplan. So again, you could split screen this or however you want, but I just have it printed so I'm not taking away from the screen that you are all seeing. Okay, so if you're interested in this, you can see you should probably see just 3 projects. This high-rise, which we can click into. So Touchplan is being used by a few of our industry partners, people who hire you all. I know Whiting Turner is a big one down in Southern California and Northern California who use it. So this is a scheduling software, and I'm just zooming in with my mouse to kind of understand it. But really what it is, it's called pull planning or last planning. So the whole idea is to let the people who are actually doing the work create these schedules. So a lot of times on a job, your PM or your project engineer, superintendents are building the project schedule, but this software and pull planning, the whole idea is to get the people who are actually doing the work in the room or sitting at home on their couch using this software to build the schedule on their own. They don't want to just be handed a schedule. They want to build it. They want to understand it, see kind of how it all ties together. Okay, so a few different steps here, which we'll get into. You can see what I'll be referring to as tags or sticky tags, because when I used to do this the old school way, it was actually with sticky tag. So you'll see that we've got different colors here. This one's a very detailed, complex, high-rise building, but we're going to be, again, just in a very simple schedule. But you'll see the different colors represent different trades. So we have those all set up. And then you'll start seeing there's kind of these different phases. So this is our initial planning, or they just call it your sequencing plan. So right here, we're just sequencing these tags in the order we want them to occur on the job. And once we're happy with this sequence, we're going to go ahead and pull over this active bar. I can't on this just because it's read only on this one, but in your schedule you're going to create, you can. So you pull over this active bar, and then it creates this actual, and what it's called in scheduling is a Gantt chart. Gantt is actually someone who was one of the pioneers of scheduling, so they named it after him, which is cool, but he came up with this method, and this is really just the standard project schedule that you'll see on any job site, construction site, is this type of view. So it's got the activity, the overall duration, and then the sequence of events, how they're tied to each other with different predecessors. Okay, so I'm going to jump back into our view bar, and if you hit the big T up here, it just gets you home. So I'm just going to go ahead and go into 01 for an example, but this is the same for all of our sections. So we're going to go ahead and create a new phase plan. So it's going to be your last name and then our assignment for the week. So you can list it as assignment 9A. And if you want to put in a description, you can too, but this is just identifying the type of pole plan that we're doing. So we're just kind of doing the whole house. And it's always okay to put in a start date, but this is similar to the next scheduling software that we're going to be using, but never really put in an end date. Let the schedule generate that end date for you. So just reference back to where our start date is for the schedule. So we're going to add that in. Again, just leave that here, hit save, and then you'll see your pole plan over here, and just go ahead and click on it to open it up. And just to kind of look at it too, this home screen changed up a little bit, so let's just look at it. This is just the overall, oops, if I go back to the project view, so this really just highlights every project that's going on right here, as well as some of these milestones. So this is kind of your VP level view. Once you all start working on this, you'll pop up down here, but this, we're not really messing with it. This is really just to manage these once they get going on a job. All right, so now that this is created, let's go ahead and open it. And now we're starting in our phase plan. So kind of a similar view, but you can go ahead and scroll. And then really this first step is you'll see this active bar over here. So we're going to go ahead and just drag this as far as we can. Almost to today's date. I mean, you guys are going to be creating this schedule throughout the week. So that's why I tried to have that start date be a week after. So again, our start date is right here. So I'm just going to move this bar. You know what? That's actually fine. Because again, this is just going to be kind of dependent on when you start or make this schedule. So your start date can vary about a week, but again, let's just say you're starting it on the very last day possible, which I give you, which is listed here. You need to finish by at least this date. But if you start early, just try to finish this as well. It doesn't really matter about your start date. The big thing here is just the finish. Okay, so now that we drag, see all these tags. Okay, perfect. So down here on the bottom right, you'll see there's 3 different types of tags that we can use in Touchplan. The main one that we're going to use is just this rectangle or square looking one, which is our typical activity. This circle, which we're not going to use, is a constraint or an issue that arises on a job site. And then this triangle looking or diamond looking one is our milestones. So first, let's just go ahead and click on this box here. So then this will preview or give me a preview window. Top right, it will allow me to select what contractor or who's doing the work. So our first group of subs is concrete. So I'm going to click on my concrete, and the task I want this to say, and I'm just going straight off my prompt here. I can scroll back to that, but this is what I'm looking down at right now. So I've got excavate and grade. And then this bottom left, I'm not too concerned with this, but you can just go ahead and leave it as is, as 2. Or if you want to kind of mess with it, go ahead. But this is just saying how many people are going to be involved with this activity. And then over here in the clock, this is how many days. So 2 days. Perfect. And so now these are on deck. So these are not actually pulled into my schedule yet. I have to manually pull them in. And you'll see I don't want to put them to the left of this active bar. I want to put them to the right of this active bar, because this will allow me to kind of preview, play with them before, because you'll see if I dragged it over here. Now it gets a little trickier, a little harder over here, so we just want to go ahead and do everything over here to the right of our active bar, and once we're happy with the sequence, that's when we're going to pull over that bar. So just make sure you're working over here on the right. And just a quick way, so right next to your name up top, you can also adjust the trades here. So I'm just going to toggle on back to concrete. So now when I go and click on my next one is formwork and rebar. So this is going to be 4 days. Okay. And then I've got another one for concrete. You can see I'm just leaving it down here right now. We've got pour, footings, and SOG, which is slab on grade. And that's just a 1 day activity. So I am not telling you the predecessors for everything. A predecessor is exactly what it sounds. It means that one activity can't start until that predecessor is complete. So if you see in your concrete section, I just listed 3 activities. So just assume, unless I tell you otherwise, that if they're in order with the way I list them, that's going to be how they fall in your schedule in that order as well. So that's just saying excavating, grading's going first, formwork's going next, and then I'm pouring this. So now you'll start seeing we've got these swim lanes being created. So these little lanes right here really read as what can occur at that time. So if I move over my formwork and rebar, now it's showing me that, okay, you just have 2 swim lanes, so 2 different work can occur at the same time. So I want these to all be dependent on one another. And what I mean by dependent, I want excavating and grading to finish prior to starting formwork and rebar, and I want formwork and rebar to finish before I start this. So this is what these little lanes are. We will start stacking a few other things. So when things can occur at the same time, that's when we put them together in their swim lanes. Okay, so the next trade I'm going to go to is my framer. So are in alphabetical order. Oh, maybe not. Never mind. Framer down the bottom. Okay, and then same step here. So I'm just going to do a few more of these with you, and then I'm going to kind of just pause the video, go ahead and create the rest of them, and show you what happens. So, okay, so framer, we've got frame walls, 4 days. Okay, and now you'll start seeing on my example, I gave you the predecessor. So the predecessor is concrete poured. So what I mean by that, the concrete has to be done before I start framing walls, which should make kind of sense. And again, you can adjust these if you want. Let's just say I've got 4 framers here. Okay, and then I'm going to build these, and then I've got install roof, and that's taken 2 days. And then I've got building sheathing, which is the plywood on the walls and on the roof, just so we can start putting our roof system as well as our exterior system on. Okay, so once these are down here, so my frame walls has to happen, and you can go ahead and stack these. I kind of like doing this just so you see the colors. Install roof. And building sheathing, or sheeting. I think it's sheathing. Okay, so now we're done here, and then I'm just going to do one more with you. So next we've got MEPs, and this one's not too tricky, but getting a little trickier. So we got MEPs. So we're going to go ahead and do rough-in. So rough-in, this is a lot of the work in the walls that you're not seeing. So yes, there is going to be something in the concrete, but we're not worrying about this. This is really just all your in-the-wall rough-in. So that can be your Romex wire, your hot-cold plumbing piping, your HVAC, supply ducts and whatnot. So it's a lot of the stuff in the walls or in the lids or in the ceilings that you're not seeing because of the drywall. So we got rough-in. It's taken 3 days. Again, this is a tiny home, so it's going quick. And yes, you can go ahead and drag these in. So the predecessor for the rough-in was install roof system. So it's actually going to be right here. So this is just showing you that these two activities can occur at the same time, and that's pretty accurate. A lot of times your rough-in people aren't getting in the way of your building sheathers, so they're kind of doing two different things at the same time. And if you ever drive by a job site or on a job site, you'll notice that a lot of things are going on at the same time. So this is just a great way to start visualizing that before we build a schedule in P6. Okay, so we got rough-in, and then we've got finish and trim. So for electrical, this would be like putting on your switches or your receptacle boxes. This is really when you connect the wires to the actual finish. So this occurs after your drywall. So we're going to kind of float this one out in La La Land for now. So finishes and trim, 2 days, perfect. So I'm going to zoom out a little bit. And I'm going to put this one and again, pretty far over. We can adjust this later. All right, so now we're ready to start putting in our finishes. So we've got exterior and interior finishes. And I separated these, I believe. Yep, is these two different ones. I may change the color actually to get that going. Okay, so I'm going to start on exterior finishes, and I'm going to go ahead and build out my exterior and interior finishes, and then I'll kick back the video right then, but I don't really want to bore you with watching me create these activities. Okay, so I just finished the majority of my tags, so you'll see some of this starting to stack, and really the whole purpose of this is to start understanding phasing, as well as just start to understand how things can occur or how things can really work concurrently on a project. So you'll see my exterior work. That predecessor, which was kicking it off, was building sheathing. So right here, my install windows is occurring there. But my interior work was starting right after MEP rough-in. So I'm really starting my exteriors and my interiors at the same time, which is pretty accurate. So I'm just going to go ahead and build out the rest of these. Cabs and countertops, and again, flooring. If I'm not telling you that they have a predecessor, just go ahead and assume that they're occurring one after the other. Okay, so this one that I kind of left out here, because I didn't know where it was going to occur, was finish trim. So finish trim for our MEPs is happening after my paint is complete. So now I can kind of drag this over to paint complete. All right, so now you can see right here, this is great. We've got these stickies. We can see the sequence of event, but we don't really start seeing days yet. When we drag over that active bar, that's when we're going to start understanding and seeing the actual duration. So I'm going to zoom out a little. So make sure you're happy, make sure it looks good, because it gets a little tricky once you drag over this active bar. So we're going to go ahead and activate, pull this bar all the way over. It's activating. Awesome. So now you'll start seeing, so my project is starting when I told it to, hopefully maybe a day off, June 1st. Your dates will vary just a little bit right here. This is just kind of a older schedule that I use just for this walkthrough. So please make sure, from here on out, just make sure your start date is listed here, and your finish date is really here. Don't really necessarily follow exactly what this video is showing you at this point. This is really just a walkthrough demo. So here are your dates on your assignment sheet. And yes, if you, it looks like mine's a day off. This is where it gets a little weird. You can manually drag it over, but it's not making a huge difference in my schedule. And then part of this prompt, our goal was to finish by July 10th. So let's just see how we're doing. Ooh, I'm pretty close. Okay, oh yeah, so I think it would have been right on the money if not. So I can just clean this up a little bit if I wanted to, and you'll see how easy it is. So once you start doing this, you can drag them over, but just be careful not to really throw off too much when you do this. So I think this will occur, and you'll see this gray right here is the weekend. So this doesn't mean it's working on the weekend. So drywall and texture is just 2 days, so Friday and Monday. Okay, we're almost done here, so I just want to make sure this is all looking good. Paint, flooring, this was all stacked together. Ooh, I may have cheated a day, but that's okay. We'll figure that out later. So this looks pretty good. So now I'm finishing July 9th, and again, my goal was July 10th. I just wanted to show you, you can add in predecessors here, but we're not going to do that. The way you can is if you, I think it's a little tedious, so if you click on it twice or something, double click it until it's highlighted in blue, then you can click on logic ties, which adds the relationship, but don't worry about that. Okay, so now that we have our schedule and it's activated, we're pretty much done with this assignment, but now what we're going to go ahead and do is print this out. So if we go to reports, I want this to look like a Gantt chart because it's kind of interesting to compare this with how P6 looks. So go ahead and click on Gantt chart, and just be careful here. You've got to do a little cleanup. So I want my start date to be 6/1. Oops. And same check here. Just make sure your start date is actually lining up of where you started it, and then your finish date is capturing. So don't use the dates that I'm showing you here in the walkthrough. When I'm telling it, so 06/01/2020, and then my finish date just going a little bit after when I'm actually finishing. So I'm going to go 07. I'm going to put in like the 15th, 2020. Okay, and then be careful here. You don't want to print everybody's plans. You just want to print your own. So just click on your own here. All right. And you can just see there's a few different ways you can generate this. I think it's fine to leave it as is, but you can sort this by roles. I simplified it a little bit, but like for our MEPs, on a job site, you would have all these be separate trades. So if you wanted to print out a report just for an electrician, you can do that. So we're going to go ahead and hit generate. Should take us to a preview. Open report. Great. Now we've got a pretty good looking schedule. So this will show you right here the start, the finish date, the crew size, which is kind of unique, and then the overall amount of workday. So I've got 39 days. Yeah, a number of different reports you can do here. You can download this as a CSV too, but we're just going to go ahead and print this as a PDF and submit this to Polylearn. Okay, so our next video will be, and part of the assignment will be working in P6, so tune into that. Hope you're all having a great week.